All right, welcome to another episode of Head to Head Sports. I'm your host Brian Parker, along with my co-host Mr. Randall Hargrove. How
What's
you doing?
good?
Got his Panthers jersey on?
Yeah, representing the day.
Okay. I hear you. I hear you. And everyone, thanks for tuning in from wherever you are. We are streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. If you're on YouTube or want to go to YouTube, please go to Empower TV Network on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and most importantly, please do share so other folks will know about all of our programs that will appear on YouTube. And we also air our shows also on our Roku and Amazon Fire TV channel under N Power, the letter N, the word power, all one word. All right. All of that said, also, Randall, I believe the Kendrick Cult is performing this weekend. Is that right?
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. We are at Bradshaw Social House Friday night. Y'all come through. It's a late one, 10 till 1 in the morning, but we'll be out there partying. We always have a good time at Bradshaw. B can attest to that one. That's where he saw me at. So
Yeah.
y'all come out. Also, any Alice in Chains fans, I'll be at Amos's on Saturday night. So I'm doing double duty this weekend.
Oh my
Come
goodness.
out to downtown Charlotte. Check me at Amos's South End, where my band Sick Man, the Ultimate Alice in Chains tribute, will be performing at Amos's.
Well, what time?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Man,
That's reasonable.
look, but between that Friday night and Saturday night, man, by the time Sunday comes with these games, you're not gonna have a voice. You're gonna have to do sign language when you're mad.
Right, exactly.
Oh, you because anybody has ever seen Randall perform, he slays on that guitar, but he also provides the vocals. So he'll go and hit them notes and stuff, y'all. So yeah, I don't know what you're gonna have left on Sunday. So Sunday and Monday gonna have to be recuperating days.
Monday I'll be very raspy.
Yeah, so hopefully your Steelers don't give you a reason to yell too much.
Dude, how many heart attacks did I have? How many heart attacks did I have Sunday? Good.
Oh my gosh, that game! I kept watching it, going, okay, anybody gonna win this game? Does anybody want to win this game? Like that was a crazy game. Where and if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and that game went on for about 13 hours. Because they kept trading back and forth. Field goal kickers missing field goal kickers hitting the uprights.
Look, can I just walk everybody through my experience on Sunday?
Yeah, go right ahead. Absolutely.
So fourth quarter of the game, we're up 20-14, right?
Mm-hmm.
About a minute left in the game, Najee Harris goes down, starts limping. I'm like, oh my God, there goes the season. So he limps to the sideline. I'm thinking, okay, maybe he'll be okay. 30 seconds left in the game. TJ Watt comes out of the game with a pectoral injury, and you can clearly see his mouth says, "I tore my pec." Mm-hmm. Those are season ending. I don't know if you've ever had a pec injury or not, but I have. That's some very painful stuff. You can't even push open a door. Seriously.
Right.
So he goes out of the game with 30 seconds left. Now I'm thinking season's a wrap for real, but at least let us win the game, right? So Cincinnati, of course, scores on the last play of the game. So now it's 20-20. I got my remote in my hand. I'm getting ready to click the TV off when they hit the extra point, right? No, we blocked the extra point. So 20-20. It goes into overtime. Okay, cool deal. We go straight down the field. They actually go down the field first, and they get set up for a 29-yard field goal. So now I know it's over. No, he shanks it. He shanks it. Unbelievable. So now we got the ball. We go down the field, and we kick a 53-yard field goal. And I'm thinking we got one of the best in the game. Mm-hmm. This is going to hit straight down the center. No, hits off the upright. Hits off the upright. How many heart attacks is that for me? About 5, right?
About 5, yeah.
Cincinnati gets the ball. They're going the other way. They're driving in the field goal range. I know it's over now. The field goal kicker ain't going to miss twice. But no, we sack them, push them out of field goal range. They punt the ball to us. to Mitchell Trubisky, who had 45 seconds left to do his thing.
Or it'll be a tie.
Trubisky. I'm like, ain't no way in hell he gonna engineer a game-winning drive. But he actually pulled it off. He actually got him in the field goal range, and we kick it and we win it.
Yes.
So, I had about 5-6 heart attacks.
Listen, what you guys did to Joe Burrow was just absolutely amazing. The amount of hurries, hits, sacks, knockdowns, deflections, did not look like the only thing that looked like the Joe Burrow of old was the fact that he was getting sacked.
Yeah.
But he was still dominant in a lot of those games, even when he got sacked last year. But, you know, that's like you said in the water cooler. This is why you play the game, because I'm sure most people said, look, these guys had just come from the Super Bowl. The Steelers are losing, had just lost Big Ben. We knew the defense was legit, but not really sure what we were going to get out of Trubisky as far as offensive production. So the nod was going to go to Cincinnati. This is why you play the game.
That same offensive unit of Cincinnati beat us 41-10 last year. The same offensive unit with a worse offensive line. So, yeah, I chalked this one up as a loss.
Yeah. Rightfully so. I mean, I would have guessed it too. Joe Burrow threw the ball 53 times.
Yes.
He was so aggressive throwing that ball. He still threw for over 300 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns and 4 picks.
Yeah.
I mean, the first pass, Fitzpatrick picked it off and ran it to the end zone.
Took it to the house.
I believe he was also the one that blocked the extra point at the end of the game.
He saved the game by blocking the extra point. Yep. So, AFC Defensive Player of the game of the week. I'm sorry.
Yeah, rightfully so. He was everywhere, all over that field. That was just an amazing game to watch, in just the fact of how much the defense of Pittsburgh made Burrow hurry and put in press and get into situations that he really shouldn't have wanted to be in. So, Ram, before I go into recapping the games, just because of all the games that I saw, especially with some of whether it was the Thursday night game with Stafford going up against Josh Allen, or whether it was Tom Brady going up against Dallas or Dak playing against Tampa, I noticed, to me, it looked as if a lot of these guys were just simply rusty. Russell Wilson going against Seattle just looked out of sync with his receivers. And then you go back and you think about it, they didn't play a lot in preseason. We got rid of a preseason game so we could have an 18th week in the NFL. And the whole idea had been, well, we're not going to play a lot of starters, or some teams took that approach. We're not going to play a lot of our starters in the preseason because we want to avoid injury. We'll play them in a series or two. That's about it. Let them get a little bit of work in. But for the most part, they're going to get most of their work in these joint practices and things like that, where we're not going full speed. Mm-hmm. Do you think that had something to do with a lot of this subpar play from some of the teams that I really expected to do more, but it just seems like starters just weren't ready?
Yeah, that's absolutely going to be a factor. And absolutely, I mean, you got to think, when back in the old days, I'm going to go way back, they used to play 6 preseason games. So by the time the regular season rolled around, I mean, these offenses were clicking already.
Yeah.
Now that number went to 4, but the offenses were still okay because most of the time they didn't play that first and second game, but they played the majority of all the third one and a little bit of the fourth. So the offenses were still clicking and coming week 1. But now you only have 3 preseason games. Some teams like the LA Rams, they don't play starters at all in preseason. At all.
Right.
So, of course, when LA goes out there, I'm expecting big things from Goff and Allen Robinson II. They're not on the same page at all. He's more reliable with Kupp than anybody else on the field. And I guess that's because, of course, him and Kupp got that previous relationship. But Allen Robinson, he got 2 targets 2. That's it.
Ooh, yeah, that was surprising in and of itself. It just seems like they may have overthought this whole thing about preseason. I get the whole thing. You don't want you guys to get hurt, but there's something said, it's always been a known factor that the defense normally is a lot further ahead of the game than the offense, especially starting out at the beginning of a season.
Yep.
And it just really looks like the gap was just even wider in a lot of places. You think about the Dallas game where they could only get 3 points the whole game, even before Dak got hurt. But the defense.
I know you were loving that.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. I mean, I was just like, especially after the way my Panthers got screwed. I needed something to make me feel better because I was just hot. I was hot for so many reasons on that game. I'll get into that one too.
Mhm.
But the defense did a good job. I mean, Tampa scored 19 points, but all but 6 of those points were field goals, or 7 points. All but 7 were field goals.
Yeah,
So
Brady was not clicking either. Nope.
No, absolutely. So, and it's just so funny now. People are going to go back to, well, he did miss 11 days in camp and all that. Okay, he's Tom effing Brady, y'all. But then you see Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has a bunch of no-name receivers, and he looked subhuman in a lot of ways. So you just go around the league and you see these performances, and you go, okay, wait a minute. Trubisky leads his team to a win. Aaron Rodgers receivers can't catch his balls. Tom Brady looks regular. Dak Prescott looks like trash. Josh Allen looks like Superman. Matthew Stafford looks like a bum. Tua looks pretty decent. I mean, Saquon Barkley's running like a beast again. You just go around and you see these different things and go, wait a minute. It's up and down is up. What the hell is going on? So a lot of this is just making me think, okay, I get it. You don't want to play your guys, but you're going to have to do a little bit more. What's up, fellas? What's up, Mr. Paul Copeland? How you doing, sir?
Cope, what up?
Paul's the 49ers fan, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll get to the 49ers game in a second, and we'll get Cope's opinion on that, and Trey Lance and Jimmy G and all that stuff going on. Anthony also inputted in that we don't a kicker practice kicking all day. How can these kickers miss? Well, it's just the same way about how the players play, Anthony. You can do all these things in warm-ups because they always talk about how these guys, he got plenty of leg. He kicked it 70 yards. Just because he kicked the ball 70 yards in warm-ups, Nathaniel Hackett, doesn't mean that you put him out there to kick a 64-yarder at the end of a damn game.
We need to get to that too.
Yeah, we need to get to that too. Because if your name had been Mike McCarthy, that would have been enough to get your ass fired. That would have done it right there. You would have been done. Jerry, when he let you on the plane, he'd been like, we rented you a car. You're going to drive back. Oh, God. Anthony said, Brady post-game interview, that man looks 60 years old, like he won't last the whole season. I think he'll be fine. Again, they're using a lot of these regular season games to take the place of the preseason games. And, normally, like, I'll give you a perfect example. If the Rams were playing the Jets in their first game, then they could kind of use that. It's like the college team that starts out with 3 games against the Sisters of the Poor before they start playing conference games. That's one thing. But when you got like a Georgia Clemson game, the first game on your schedule, you can't warm up during that game. You got to be ready. You can't have Buffalo come to your place like that and be trying to figure things out. You need to have that already done. So if I knew that, okay, ordinarily, McVay, I get it. But at least you should have said, hey, we got Buffalo first. This ain't no mail it in kind of game. Maybe I need to get my guys a little bit ready. We need to do a little bit more to get prepared in that third game. If it's that third preseason game, put the starters out there for 2 series, 3 series. Or tell them this, hey guys, I'm going to play you the whole half unless I see 2 good series out of you. If I get 2 good series out of you, we calling the plays. We ain't coming up with a whole bunch of penalties and things like that. because that's where mistakes happen, is when you don't have the cohesiveness and the communication. That's why all those false starts come up from and things like that. Unless it's just Dallas and you just ain't disciplined worth a damn. But a lot of that stuff is stuff that you fix before a big game like that Buffalo game. It looked like to me they were still trying to figure it out against Buffalo. Bro, when Von Miller is coming at you like a dog with some meat chained around his neck, that ain't the time to be trying to figure out if that dog bite or not. Mm-mm, mm-mm. That dog wasn't just biting. That dog was out for blood. Von Miller looked like he about 27 years old all over again, bro. So, and like I said, the defenses are a lot further along than those offenses. So offenses can't just be trying to figure it out in game one and game two when you playing some real competition. You playing some of the lower echelons of the NFL. I mean, anybody can beat you on any given day. But like I said, except for the Jets, that's not going to happen. But I mean, hell, you even saw Houston putting up a fight. Davis Mills looked great. And I was saying that he was doing some stuff last year. So, but he played. He played in the preseason. They made him say, hey, listen, you're going to have to show us that you're going to be that guy. They're not giving him any kind of extension. You're going to have to play out this year and really show us that, hey, we had a chance to get Baker Mayfield when we let Deshaun Watson go. We said no. We had a chance to go after Jimmy Garoppolo. We said no. We think you're the guy. So a lot of those things are really making me think that you can't just say all three preseason games we're not going to start our starters. That just seems to be too much. Paul says Niners versus Bills in Super Bowl. You heard it here first. Don't laugh. Okay. But if I don't laugh, then I might choke and not be able to breathe. No, I'm just kidding. So Niners versus Bills, Rand. That's Paul's call. What do you think? You see that happening? Oh, did I lose you, Rand? You there, Rand? Oh, Rand must have had a little technical difficulty. He should be back in just a second. Niners versus Bills. NFC is going to be tough, only because the league is so close this year. There's not a lot of dominant teams in the NFC. It is possible because I keep seeing things even where they're saying Minnesota might make it. Just for the simple fact, you know what? If Minnesota was ever going to make it, this would be the year, Paul. If the Niners are going to make it, this would be the year. But we got to see who Trey Lance is and what Trey Lance is first. I think you got pieces around you. I'm here. Put me in, coach. What's up, Jermaine? The Colts versus Texans was sad first game in a tie. Yeah, absolutely. Randall dares to bring our bold statements live. That's mine. Hey, that's fair, Paul. That's fair. And we like those bold statements. Now, give me some insight as to why. Other than the fact that you're a 49ers homer, what is it about the 49ers that you think can get them through this season with a quarterback that has not played much, didn't play much in college, hadn't played much up to date in the NFL, had a really, really difficult game, albeit it was a monsoon. And that should count for something that Trey Lance was not as sharp as he could have been. So, Paul, let me know. Paul said Randall dared us to bring our bold statements live. That's mine because he said San Francisco and Buffalo in the Super Bowl. What do you think about that, Rand?
As bad as LA played the other night, I mean, San Francisco got a shot. You better sort your issues out with playing in bad weather, though, because you let the Bears catch you. Chicago, come on.
I mean, like I said, I was staring at some of these games going, what the heck is going on? I mean, nobody gave Chicago a chance in that game. I mean, zero chance, only because of all the ups and downs that franchise has had and everything. Trey will have to grow. He will. Yeah, he's going to have to do it on the fly. And you're right, Paul. If they have any chance at all, Paul says they'll have to rely on defense and a stout run game. And they have those. They have a good run game. I mean, you got now didn't Sermon go out?
Mitchell was lost for the year. Well,
Oh,
not the year. I think he's lost for at least 8 games with
Elijah
a
Mitchell's out. Okay.
with a knee injury. So now it's time for what's his name to come step it up for us. I can't remember his name now. Number 22.
Isn't it Trey Sermon?
Nah, not Sermon. He won't be the backup.
Okay, I just Sermon is gone, released. Okay, okay. So who's the other running back, Paul? I know you got. I mean, I don't want to call Debo a running back. Wilson Jr.
Wilson, thank you.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, he's gonna have to step it up. But you know what? That deep, do they just find the greatest backs, or do their schemes make the backs look great? Because, like I said, whether it was Mitchell, whether it was Sermon, whether it was Mostert, whether it's Wilson Jr., they all seem to run very well. Whether it's Debo, they all seem to run very well in that offensive scheme. So, is it the scheme, or is it the back, or is it a little bit of both?
It's the offensive line. I mean, it's the offensive line, and it's also the head coaching. You got to think they use Debo to his fullest potential. They bring him around those end arounds. He's a very powerful wide receiver. So not only is he capable of getting the ball and breaking tackles and breaking it all the way, even when you hand off to these running backs, Debo is capable of pile driving some of these cornerbacks and safeties in the blocking game that are coming up and trying to make tackles. He's a weapon, man. He's a weapon.
So then, is it fair enough to say then you really don't need to pay these running backs astronomical amounts if you got somebody like a Shanahan that can come up with a scheme to make decent running backs look even better?
Oh yeah, I mean that's been the for I mean that's pretty much out there. You're not going to pay these running backs. Most of the production you're going to get out of them is going to come within those first 4 years of the
Right.
contract. You might have somebody get a second deal if you're like special like a McCaffrey, but I would argue against any running back getting a third deal.
Yeah, true that. And Paul, let's see. Anthony says, "Why do you think Jimmy G is still there? Trey's time is coming." Well, I think it's an insurance policy for sure. I don't know how. Well, I do know how I feel about it. I don't like having Jimmy there, only from the standpoint that fans are unforgiving, man. I mean, if Trey starts to struggle, say another, okay, everybody's going to give him the pass because of the rain and stuff like that. But what happens when he throws a multiple interception game? What happens when he's letting the ball sail over some receivers? What happens when the ball is behind the receiver and he's not throwing people open and things like that, or he's taking a lot of sacks because he's not feeling the pocket starting to collapse? What's going to happen when those things happen? People going to start going, you think we got to throw Jimmy in? Because to your point, Paul, the pressure is for the 49ers to win now. You have a ready-made team. Only thing is really questionable is your quarterback. So if your quarterback is starting to slip, how many lumps can you allow him to take before people will start looking over to Jimmy and say, well, wait a minute, this dude done got us in the 2 NFC championships game in a Super Bowl. So will the fans be patient enough with Trey Lance as he takes his lumps? He's going to have to take his lumps. But if he takes his lumps, are you wasting Debo Samuel by doing that? Are you wasting George Kittle by doing that? Because every year that they don't go is another year. If this is the year, I mean, if there was a year for them to get to the Super Bowl with LA playing like trash the other day, Green Bay taking a step back, Tampa may be taking a step back, Dallas ain't happening. The NFC is a little bit more on a level playing field this year. Hell, I even heard Shannon Sharp talk about he thought Minnesota might go to the Super Bowl because Minnesota was looking so good with Jefferson taking another step this year, Dalvin Cook and those guys up there. So the NFC is a lot more on even playing ground this year, Rand. What do you think about that? If San Francisco's going to go to the Super Bowl, this is the year, and can you really let the rookie take a whole lot of lumps?
You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to. He comes from a small school. Um, I mean, part of his college year, he didn't even play the whole year at
Right.
college. He sat for a whole year. So you're gonna have to develop this guy. You're gonna have to be patient with him. You know what you got with Jimmy G. Yes, he's a
Mhm.
good leader, but he is not gonna be somebody that takes you to a Super Bowl and wins it. You've been there with Jimmy G, right? And you
Yeah.
saw what happened. You had your chance, you had your shot at winning that Super Bowl. You had a wide receiver, I believe it was Debo, running wide open for the game-winning score. I mean, you never know because Mahomes would have got the ball back, so you never know. But
Yeah. The things Mahomes can do with 13 seconds
I'm
aren't the
serious.
same things the Cowboys can do.
But I mean, Jimmy G missed his receiver. He overthrew him. And you're gonna get stuff like that out of Jimmy G. The championship, not the championship game, but the divisional game against Dallas last year. He about threw that lead away. He
Yeah, he
did.
did.
Yeah, so the things with Jimmy G, you know what you're gonna get with him. You got to be patient with Lance, let him develop. I believe he's gonna be fine. He was about 50% passing in the rain against Chicago, um, and he also had like 50 yards running in that game as well. So
Yeah, that's
in
crazy.
slopping conditions, I mean, he did okay. I think he will do better. That was his first NFL, really his first NFL start. So you
Full
just gotta
start.
see
Yeah.
full start.
Yeah.
You gotta be patient with them. I think the fans will be patient with them. This is the year to make a run at the title because of all of the things that you previously mentioned. Yeah, I think Minnesota has a strong shot based on everything that we saw during week one. But let's be patient with the whole season and see how this thing plays out.
Yeah. Trey was 13 for 28, so he didn't throw it that much. 164, no touchdowns, one pick. But to your point, he also ran for 54 yards. Debo ran for 52. Mitchell, before he went out, ran for 41, and Wilson ran for 22. Ayuk is also still on the team too. So
Well,
um, Paul said Niners have a great scheme, a la Shanahan Senior Broncos, and also said yes, the line is well. Debo is a hybrid. Ain't nobody like Debo but Debo.
no, ain't
That
nobody
is
like Debo.
that is true. But Kadero Patterson is trying to be Debo light.
He
He
won't
did.
get there.
Yeah, he won't get there, but he did some things like he did last year in the Atlanta game. We'll talk about that a little bit too. And then also Paul says, I think they're still hoping to get something for Jimmy. They really are. I think that's really what Jimmy is there for. A lot of people started speculating when Dak got hurt. Would that be an option? Jerry's not. I think San Francisco is going to try to get some first round picks for Jimmy or second at the worst. And Jerry ain't giving up either one of those to replace Dak for a few games. That's just not going to happen. So anybody thinking that there's a chance that Jimmy might go to Dallas, and you got to remember, Jimmy has a no trade clause. So it's not that he wouldn't waive it or anything like that. But in Jimmy's mind, why would I go to Dallas knowing I'm going to be a backup in about 6 weeks or so?
That's exactly right. I mean, it's going to be hard to go to Dallas knowing that Dak is going to be coming
It's
back
a for Carolina.
quarterback battle. So I think
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started, I started hearing names like Mason Rudolph, man, I'm just like, damn, have we come this far down Dallas that we're actually going after Mason? Now look, I know he's played. I know, it's just not a sexy pick. I
he's
even heard
better
people
than
talking
Cooper Rush.
oh, I agree. But hell, I heard some talking about hey, do you bring in Colin Kaepernick? I'm like, not the
Oh my
Dallas,
God.
not after what Jerry said about toe to the line and all that mess. Even if Kaepernick was the best option out there, I think for all of reasons outside of football, Jerry would say hell to the no. He would
A
just
lot of teams would say hell to the no. Kaepernick's time is over.
it's over.
It's
So is Cam's
done.
too.
It's a
I
wrap.
saw somebody in water cooler talking about Cam. I was like, listen, I love Cam to death, but that ship has sailed. It's over.
It's over, man.
It's a wrap. But let's see. We also said, um, Paul says, personally, I think this is a learning year. Most fans won't have the patience. I will. I agree.
Yeah,
Um,
got to be patient.
I honestly don't think your fans are going to want to hear that we let a rookie uh, grow when we were this close to, because you got to remember, if this is the year that LA is going to be down or could at least be contended with, if this is the year where Green Bay is going to be down or at least the year they can be contended with, and you know that the window is very, very small, ask I mean, hell, Buffalo is on that verge right now, where if they keep on crapping away their opportunities to get through the AFC title game, that window is going to close on them too. So
Mhm.
when the Patriots are not winning the AFC East year after year after year, you got to take advantage of that. So those opportunities won't, that window will not stay open as long as you think. So it's not really too just that fans are getting antsy. They kind of got a reason to, because they understand that this whole talk about dynasties and stuff like that, that ain't gonna happen as much. So you got to go when it's time to go. And if you need a quarterback just to be that piece to get you over the get you over the top, then that's what you got to do. Paul also says, I trust the Lynch Shanny brain trust. Well, that's good. And then Anthony says, what is Jerry Jones smoking on thinking a broken a thumb will take 4 weeks to heal? I'm gonna get into that too, Anthony. I got my reasons as to why Jerry didn't say what he did.
Jerry
And
Jones thinks 1+1 is 3.
he said that. That's how billionaires count. they can skip two. They can afford to. I had to roll, fellas. Appreciate your thoughts and your time. All right, Paul.
See you later,
Appreciate it.
Paul.
Thanks for coming through with your thoughts. We do appreciate it. But to just put a cap on the San Francisco Chicago game, that was amazing just to kind of see that. It was amazing. I mean, Justin Fields, it's not like he played the game of his life. He went 8 for 17 for 121. So, and of course, you're not going to throw the ball like that in those situations. You can't even barely grip the ball. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and things like that. So that game is going to be one of those kind of throwaway games where it's hard to really figure out who did what. Who somebody had to win the game, unless you wanted to tie it. But somebody pretty much had to win the game, and it just kind of came down to who made the fewest mistakes at the end of the game, who had the ball last, and things like that. I don't really foresee it being a tail ran as far as is Trey, where Trey is in his development, and even where Justin Fields is in his. Just too hard to tell.
Yeah, I mean, you can't read too much into that game, but of course, San Francisco, even in sloppy conditions, is the better team. You
Correct.
would have preferred them to come away with a victory in that. But hey, it's the NFL, man. It's the NFL.
And my man Scott just texted me, Justin Fields for president.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, why not? Why not, Scott? We have all these celebrities running for office and stuff like that. So he won't be the first. He wouldn't be the first one, and he damn sure won't be the last one. Waiting for George Clooney to run for president. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the Bills and the Rams, like I said earlier, that really stunned me only because um, it just seemed like Stafford was just off. It seemed like they were protecting his elbow early to me, where they were really just overrunning Daryl. I kept seeing Daryl Henderson, Daryl Henderson, Daryl Henderson. And I'm like, is he not going to push this ball down the field, or can he not push this ball down the field? Because if you can, I mean, I understand what they were trying to do, soften up the defense, set up the pass by getting the run established and everything like that. But you got to be able to do something to keep Von Miller off of you. I saw them try to do one-on-ones with Von Miller, and Von just ran through the dude like he wasn't there. Um, he did all kinds of stunts, spins, swims. He had his whole arsenal. It was almost like he waited the whole off season for that game. Um, and it's just crazy. Now, if Von and the Bills do go to the Super Bowl and win it, he'll be the first player that's won the Super Bowl on 3 different teams like that.
Yeah. Well, who are the teams? It'd be Denver, LA. Who else?
Who's that?
Von Miller. You said three different teams?
Yeah, and the Broncos.
Yeah, Denver, LA, and
Denver, LA, and now the Bills.
that's right. That's right. That's right. So yeah, dude has found his fountain of youth, no doubt, man. He was a weapon during that game, but that whole Buffalo defense was
Oh
humming.
yes. Oh
They were
God, yes.
humming. Um, Stafford, I think he'll be fine. He did throw 41 times, completed 29 of them. That's very good percentage and everything.
Mm.
Just crazy that 13 of them had to go to Cup. You can't just use one side of the field like that. You got to get everybody else involved.
Yeah,
So maybe it's a thing of just was not on the same page as with the new wide receivers, and that
I
will
think
come
so.
with time. Uh,
Yeah.
but
There
they'll be
was
the
there was
same.
another quarterback that did that same similar kind of thing. We'll get into that one too, and that would be one Derek Carr that must have only thought that Devontae Adams was the only receiver out there on the field.
Yeah,
Um,
I know that's his boy and everything, but you got to see the whole field, man.
yeah, or your other guys are going to check out on you, so you got to be careful when you do that. There's a line with that, so we'll get into that one too. The Eagles played the Lions, and the Eagles were having their way with the Lions, and then the Lions finally said enough.
Yeah,
I said that they may not win a lot of games, but they're going to be competitive. And the first couple of quarters, they really weren't. By halftime, it was already 24-14. At the end of the third quarter, it was 38-21. But the Lions scored 14 points in the full quarter, and the Eagles didn't score anything.
yeah, I saw that. That whole, I mean, we were talking a little bit about it last week. That coach,
Yep.
what's his name, Campbell?
Dan Campbell. Yep.
He has the entire city rejuvenated. That was probably the most energy I've seen in that stadium in a long time. Those fans were pumped up for that game, man. Um, they still need to get themselves a quarterback because I just don't have any faith in what Jared Goff is doing.
Yep.
He made the last quarter comeback, I guess, but the other three quarters he was missing in action.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to right the ship with that one. Find themselves a quarterback. I think they're going to be stuck with Golf all year, but moving forward after this year, they need to find themselves a quarterback. But I think they're going to be okay this year as a team.
Well, to your point, they really want to rely heavily on their running game, but the problem is this: if your quarterback can't make those third and shorts, second and longs, it's going to be very hard to stay in a running game, because if the other team keeps scoring 7 and you keep getting field goals or nothing at all in their 3 and outs, at some point your running game is not going to be an option for you, because you're going to need points and points in a hurry, and you're not going to be able to run yourself back in the game. So DeAndre Swift did everything he could. He ran 15 carries, 144 yards, 9.6 per. I
Woo!
mean, what else could he do? But at some point, his production in the running game isn't going to do anything for you when you're down 2 and 3 scores and everything. He did get busy in the passing game a little bit, 3 receptions for 31 yards, 10.3 per. So dude knows what to do with the ball when you get it in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
But when they take one part of your game away from you and force you into doing things that you're not as comfortable with, i.e. throwing the ball, it's hard to stay in those games like that. So if you get into shootouts, then that's going to be a problem. Now you're relying on your defense to keep the game close enough so your quarterback don't have to play hero ball. You can stay within yourself and continue to pound away on the ground, which keeps giving you a chance to win the game.
Yeah, Jarrett's got to give him something though. He can't wait till the fourth quarter to start
No,
eating up and hitting receivers. It's too
exactly.
late at that point, man. Do something to move the ball down the field. You got to have your explosive pass plays in the game to help your running game as well. Had they
Mm-hmm.
done that, I mean, it would have been a closer game going into the fourth than trying to come back in the fourth.
Yeah, and I don't know what was worse, the fact that Detroit was able to come back within 3, or the fact that Philly basically took their foot off the gas. I mean, up until the fourth, in 3 quarters, they scored 38 points. The fourth quarter, they don't score any.
Yeah. But speaking of that, I do like what Jalen Hurts was doing, man. He looked really good out there.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
that connection with AJ Brown is there
Woo!
already. So with everything that's gone down in Big D with Dak's big thumb injury, look out for Philadelphia because they could take this daggone trophy in the East with the way they play.
Oh, well, it's funny. I still think they will.
Yeah.
I saw another team in the East that I was like, nah, but maybe. I don't think they can take it, but I think that they might win more than 2 games this year. That's the New York Football Giants. So,
Well, I
but
tell
anyway,
you what, they better not win one this Sunday. I tell you that.
wait a minute. Who Giants play? Don't tell me the Steelers. Oh, that is right. It is this week. Nah, that they won't. Even though I
Better
don't
not.
know about Carolina's run defense stopping Saquon,
Mm-hmm.
but it may have to be one of those things where the way you negate Saquon is you get up on them early and force Daniel Jones to start throwing the ball to the defensive line and the cornerbacks on the Carolina Panthers because he'll do it. He's good for it. All you got to do is keep that head up. He is going to do it. And even when he throws the long balls, do not put your hands on the receivers. I'm trying to think of the dude's name from the Panthers that try to act like it wasn't pass interference. It was pass interference,
Oh
clearly.
my God.
Clearly.
Henderson.
You mugged him and never even looked for the ball. You saw him look and you decided, oh, I'm gonna mug him.
Dude, that is my absolute pet peeve for defensive backs. Please turn your head and look for the ball.
That would have been the difference between a
Wow.
flag and not a flag.
Yes.
All you had to do when you see him doing that, you go, that's it.
That's all you had to do. That's all you had to do, and it was a clear interception for
Not
us.
accost the gentleman.
God almighty, man. You
I
know
know.
what? That game pissed you off. It also pissed me off. So let's go ahead and get into Carolina talk right now.
All right, let's do it. So Carolina ended up playing the revenge game. This was Baker Mayfield's chance to be able to show Cleveland that they gave up on him too soon. Talking about they needed an adult in the locker room and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, Baker does have a little attitude sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. All of that said, what I had a couple issues with this game. One issue was, at first I talked about how Christian McCaffrey is too involved in the offense. And I don't know if Matt Rule sat there and watched this show and took it as me saying, don't give him the damn ball. I wasn't saying that. I just said he shouldn't be in. Even if he's on the field 99% of the time, there's other guys out there too. Spread it around. Didn't mean just sit there and go so heavy in the passing game that it was like Christian who? Hell, one of his longest runs was because Baker dropped the ball on the ground. He picked it up and shot out like a cannon.
Yeah.
That which I don't know if that was really a design, but
No.
Baker in the center seemed like they need more reps together because there were just way too many drops. There were way too many deflections, and I felt like I said something on the water cooler about it, and they were like, "Well, Brian, he couldn't roll from Garrett because Jadeveon Clowney was on the other edge." Okay, well, have him step up in the pocket, have him do some rolls, have some bootlegs. Make or have a running back out there to chip one of those guys. If Myles Garrett is coming and he's blowing up your rookie left tackle, have a tight end on that side, run 2 tight end sets and have him chip and then spread out as a check down possibly or come around the back. Myles Garrett gives up that position on that side, have him chip long enough so he can circle around, take that spot, and Baker can dump off a quick little pass. But just don't have him sitting there getting teed off because Ekwonu can't stop Myles Garrett. That's not a fair fight. It's not really a bad thing against Ekwonu. It's his first game.
Yeah.
But you're trying to block the quarterback's blind side. At least if you roll to the other side, he can see the guy coming. When he's sitting there staring down the field and the left tackle can't block his blind side, he's going to get hit. He's going to fumble because he doesn't know the contact is coming. And he's a shorter quarterback. You can't just have him stand in the pocket because a lot of his balls are going to get batted down because he's only 4'11". Sorry. That was the first problems I had with the game. Now I can get into all the stuff at the end of the game, but this is how I normally feel about that. Did they get screwed at the end of the game? Twice, absolutely. Had you pushed your offense more, probably wouldn't have mattered at that point because you should have been beating them pretty handedly. At the end of the day, Jacoby Brissett was their quarterback, and Jacoby Brissett beat you. Yes, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt did what they had to do. You weren't going to stop that. But if you had neutralized Jacoby Brissett, that still, I don't think that would have mattered. I just think that they did not make Jacoby Brissett uncomfortable enough. And that's a problem because that was an opportunity. That's one of them games that you got to have because there are going to be a lot of other games that you're not going to be, you may be competitive in, but you're probably not going to win. So if you were going to have a chance to win a game, Panthers, that was going to be that game. That's the biggest issues that I have with that is that Matt Rule just does not make adjustments to what it is that the defense is doing. He goes in with a game plan and he thinks that just because you go in with that game plan at the beginning of the game, it does not mean that you have to stick to that game plan all the way throughout. If it's not working, it's not working. Make in-game adjustments. Don't even always wait till halftime and say, okay, let's figure this out. What are we going to do coming out of halftime into the third quarter? A lot of the good coaches can make those adjustments as the game goes on, as they see what it is that the defense is trying to do. And a lot of times it still looks like it comes down a lot of this to coaching. And as a Panthers fan, I don't know how long Panthers fans are going to continue to put up with it. I think they're pretty much done with Matt Rule. I think most Panthers have pretty much seen what they're going to see from Matt Rule. I don't think they think that there's really anything that's going to be different. I think his coaching is just not conducive to winning. He always, every time they put the camera on him, he has that look like
he don't know what's going on.
He don't know what's going on. Like he always has that look like, what happened?
Yeah, I'm experiencing technical issues on my end. I don't know if it's on your end as well, but I keep losing a link. But anyway, we were talking about this before things kind of went crazy technically.
Yeah, go for it.
But I thought that Baker wet the bed, that being his first game. You could tell he was extremely nervous.
Yep.
Kept dropping and fumbling balls. Some of them were his fault, some of them were not. But he didn't play his best football at all. But outside of that, when he calmed down in the second half and got the offense rolling, he put the Panthers back in the game. Now, the issue that I have outside of that is, of course, the defense's inability to stop the run. That still seems to be a problem. But let's talk about the coaching. Terrible.
Yep.
You can't just sit there and let a man as powerful as Garrett come off of somebody's blind side and you make no adjustments at all to try to stop him. You just keep Baker in the pocket, like you were saying. Roll that man out to the other side. I don't care if Clowney's over there. Clowney is no longer a dominant force in this.
Thank you.
The same as Garrett is.
Right.
Roll him away from the pressure. Keep some tight ends in.
I will take my chances having Trimble chip Clowney or something like that.
Yeah. Keep the tight end in. Don't even send them out for a play. Keep them in.
Correct.
I mean, Garrett is a TJ Watt. He's just that daggone dominant, man. So keep double team him on the edges. Don't chip him. I saw one of the plays where I think Trimble chipped him, but he basically put a arm on him and ran out for a pass play. That's doing absolutely nothing to help Baker,
right,
man. So Rule was an idiot in that regard. He's an idiot for giving McCaffrey four touches in the first half. When you're trying to get the run game established, you don't use your best weapon but 4 times. Come on, man. And then you got DeAndre here to back him up, and you give him the ball twice. What are we doing? With Rule, it seems to be the same thing over and over. Like you were saying when we first started talking about Carolina, Of course, there was an issue with giving McCaffrey the ball too much, but that doesn't mean you back him all the way back to 4 touches. Find a medium.
Right.
Find a medium.
And he was Baker was really trying to find Robbie Anderson a lot, which he did find him for that long touchdown, and that was good. That was a blown coverage, but hey, it is what it is. But dude, you got to be able to get DJ Moore in this game.
Yeah. Got to be able to
So
get
I don't understand between McAdoo and Rule, number one, from a scheme standpoint, if you go 11 personnel, then you're going to have a bunch of receivers out and a running back. When you got a Myles Garrett, you cannot run 11 personnel. You got to go 21 jumbo. You got to have a lot more guys back there to block, and then you're going to put your fastest receivers on the edges. You're not going to have 3 receivers because you got to take away a personnel package to put in a bigger package, because you got to be able to stop that penetration, especially when you have a smaller quarterback that is not going to get the ball out very fast. This is not Tom Brady standing in a pocket just throwing darts, even though Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady the other day doing that either. But that's a whole nother story. But that's normally his thing. That's not Baker. Baker's going to hold on to that ball a little bit longer, and you know that. So you can't sit there and run 11 personnel thinking that he's going to be successful in that. There's just no way. Not when you've got Garrett on one side and Clowney on the other side. Clowney keeps you honest. He's not Myles Garrett. I take my chances running over to Clowney's side.
Here's another thing. What about some play action? Some play action. It's simple. You got your best weapon. How about threaten to hand it off to him? It draws everybody up. Then you take a 3-step drop back instead of a 5 or 7-step drop back, where you're getting yourself into trouble with these 5 and 7-step drops. The passing routes are too long. Before you can get it off, you got somebody in your face, somebody hitting you. So go to play action or 3-step drops. You got to try something different rather than just sit there and allow the same thing over and over.
That's the part, Rand, when the coaching that kept getting me. Like I was saying, when you got knocked off, it's one thing when it happens. Number one, you knew Cleveland was on the schedule for I don't know how long. You knew that Myles Garrett didn't retire and they ain't trading. You got plenty of film on Myles Garrett. You know what he likes to do. You should have been more prepared. It just doesn't even look like you were prepared.
No.
I mean, nobody was surprised at if you were going to really give Myles Garrett single teaming with a rookie left tackle. What did you think was going to happen?
Just dumb. I mean, it is. It's just dumb.
Like, what did you think was going to happen?
And on top of that, I mean, from game to game to game and week to week, this guy continues to be the worst second half adjustment coach in the whole NFL. And that's why he has lost 24 out of the 34 games that he's coached. I've had enough of Rule. I really have, man.
Yeah, I'm done. I've seen enough. I've seen enough to know that he's stuck in his ways, and they're not even like principled ways. Like, we're a run first team, and we're going to pound and play good defense and field position, like Ron Rivera would say, where it's all about field position and stuff like that. Till he became Riverboat Ron and would go for it on 4th downs a lot. But he has no creed or anything. If somebody says, well, what kind of coach is Rule? Is he defensive, offensive coach? Hell, I'd go for neither.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Most coaches, like if you say Sean McVay, oh yeah, he's an offensive coach. You say Sean McDermott, oh, he's a defensive coach, defensive-minded coach, Buffalo Bills. You start to Matt LaFleur, oh yeah, he's an offensive guy. You start talking about different coaches, you really know what their bread and butter is.
Ron Rivera, defense,
yeah. I mean, you knew that. You knew that if anything was going to be good, that defense was going to be top 5. A Ron Rivera defense was always going to be top 5 in total yards. But you do not know what Matt Rule stands for.
No, he
and here's the problem. Here's the problem. He don't either.
And he doesn't know. He doesn't know. You could clearly see that.
Yeah, because every time you look at him,
things go wrong. There you go. That look into the sky like, oh God, send me an answer. Look, man, I'll tell you this, B. If we go to New York and lose this game, especially in bad fashion, if we get spanked again for the second straight year by one of the worst teams in the NFL, because that's what the Giants are. They're one of the worst teams in the league. We lost to them 25-3 last year. Inexcusable. If we go up there and go through that same thing again, have a 0-2 start, it's time for this dude to go, man. It's time for him to go. He's not going to correct it. When has he ever corrected?
Was that the game last year that they got rid of Brady after that, or was it New Orleans or something like that? It was.
I can't remember, man.
It was one of them games he used that as yeah, we just didn't have a good offensive game.
Yes, it was Brady, the Brady game. After that, we scored 3 points against the New York Giants. Yes.
Yeah. I was like, so dude, bro, it ain't McAdoo this time.
Right. And even if it was, McAdoo was his hire. That's his hire. So it's time for this dude to go, man. I don't care.
I honestly think let Rule go now and let McAdoo just be interim for the rest of the year.
If we get spanked by the New York Giants for the second year in a row, it has to be that. It has to be. Where else is this thing gonna go?
Yeah, I mean, I know that's a lot. I know he don't want to admit he's wrong because he pulled him from college. He gave him all those years. He gave him $60 million, but at some point,
we've seen enough.
We've seen it. You know, thanks for trying. We appreciate you trying to think outside the box and get somebody and all those kind of things. Even though Eric Bieniemy was right there, but you know, I'm just gonna leave that alone. But because you're right. The in-game adjustments are just not there at all. So
terrible. It's terrible.
Now, lastly about that game, at the end of the game, Brian Burns, they called him for unnecessary roughness against Jacoby Brissett. Number one, there should never be any unnecessary roughness against Jacoby Brissett. He ain't earned none of that. Hell, Cam Newton got hit all the time, and the ref would just look at him like, well, hell, you big enough to take it. They smaller than you. You should never get that on Jacoby Brissett. Hell, he wasn't that aggressive. He pushed Jacoby's teammate back into him. That's all that happened.
And the teammate hit him.
His teammate
wasn't even Burns.
Right. He just got pushed back into him, and that's what hit him. That's worse than whiffing at Tom Brady and getting that call. Well, I've seen that plenty of times. Then, as the game is getting tighter and tighter, and the Browns are in field position, Jacoby Brissett pulls a Dak Prescott, not understanding the rules. When you're trying to to spike the ball to stop the clock, it has to be one motion. Once they hike the ball, you can stand up and throw the ball straight down. You cannot stand up and pump, which is what he did, and then throw it down. It had to be one motion. That's two motions. When he pumped, that is faking a pass.
Yep.
When you throw it straight down, that is grounding. They threw the flags and then picked it up. What they saw is what they saw. That's grounding. Why does that matter? That's 15 yards, and it puts them out of field goal range, and it's fourth down.
Yep. And if they don't call that roughing pass, that's another 15
yards. Yeah, that was 15 yards that moved them forward, so they shouldn't have had that. But then you gave them that. I figured, because I said to myself when they threw the flags, I said, okay, time for the makeup call.
Makeup call. No,
first thing I said when they did, I was like, okay, good, we got it. It's a makeup call. It's the right call, but it's a makeup call. They did the right thing because I saw when he did like that and the ball didn't go down. I said, oh yeah, that's grounded. And the flags came out. I was like, whoo, okay. And I was like, man, we got saved. They picked up that flag. I was like, you can't even get the right call on your own home field.
Look, that's why I put in the water cooler that the NFL referee is the dumbest mammal on the face of the earth.
Oh my God.
They are terrible. They're absolutely.
Dude, are we gonna have to put replay on everything?
Everything. Let's review everything.
Damn.
We're gonna have to.
Because what's happening is because I believe that they said the next day, once they reviewed the tape, because Matt Rule sent the tape, which he should have, that no, you're right, it was grounding. Well, whoop-de-damn, we're still 0-1.
Yeah.
Doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
You know, okay, they got it wrong, and it did determine the outcome of the game.
absolutely
You
did.
cannot have refereeing determine the outcome of the game. The outcome of the game needs to be determined by the players on the field, not the referees.
Yeah, I'm just tired of it, man.
So
Like
they
every
took
week.
that winnable game away from Carolina in a game that no, though they should not have been down as much as they were down, they did not give up. They fought to the end of that game, and then to get screwed over by the referees is just terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yep. And it's something we're going to continue to see because I just have no faith in this officiating crew. They're terrible. They suck.
They do.
They're awful.
And it was crazy. They threw the flags, so they knew something happened. They were like, wait a minute. That's not normally how balls get spiked. Well, then why did you give him the benefit of the doubt?
Yeah.
And New York, why under 2 minutes did you not say, wait? So that could have been, I don't know if that's reviewable. Maybe they couldn't have reviewed it because maybe the current rules don't allow it to be reviewable.
Yep.
There were a couple of stupid officiating calls. I'm trying to think, was it the rain game in San Francisco where they threw the flags because they came out to dry the ball off with a towel? And they said that the rules state that you can't use a foreign object to, interfere with the play. And they considered the towel interfering with the play because you were using it to make the ball dry. Now you could do it with your hands or whatever, but you couldn't bring something onto the field to dry off a wet ball. And they got flagged for that.
See, they can dig that deep into the rule book, but they can't.
I mean, that's an old rule that's very seldom used.
Yeah,
they threw a
they can
flag
go
on that.
that
And I'm just
deep.
like,
They
but they
can
didn't
go
gain
that
any
deep.
advantage from that.
They could go that deep for a penalty, but they can't use their common sense when it comes to things like roughing the passer. They can't use their common sense when it comes to things like the fake spike. It's just very frustrating, man. It's frustrating.
It is. It's
especially when it
and some
costs
of these
games.
roughing the passer calls. This whole thing about, hey, when you tackle the quarterback, you can't put all your weight on him.
Yeah, we saw some of that too.
I'm just like, okay, how can you? Isn't that still kind of subjective? If you can tell whether I what I do, it's like, okay, if I'm not hugging my wife and I'm hugging another female, I gotta give her a side hug because I can't feel the little bumpies on me, so I gotta do it like this. So okay, so what, they gotta side tackle him so they can't? I mean, come on, I get it. You don't want to drive him into the ground, but when you're coming at somebody and you reach out and you tackle him, a lot of that you don't have a lot of control on in the air, how bodies shift and stuff. And you're holding that against the defense. So the defense is like, well, I want to take this guy's head off, but I can't legally a lot of times because you'll call it roughing the passer. Even though I got to him within a step, I didn't hit him in head to head. I didn't go under his knees. The target is so small now, I can only hit him a certain way, and I got to control my body as I'm taking him down to the ground.
Yeah, it's just frustrating when the NFL pretty much admits that there's too many roughing calls happening. So they say, okay, refs, use your discretion with this call. Okay. So if a guy just accidentally hits him in the head and it's not forcefully, use your discretion, don't throw the flag. But they're still throwing flags for idiotic things like that. What do you? I don't know.
I mean, my God, this is football. Yeah, but a 300-pound player can't stop in midair. That I know, Anthony. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I think if a 300-pound player tried to stop himself in midair, he'd end up hurting himself, twisting the ankle, pulling something. Just because he was coming so hard, and then he got rid of the ball. He tries to pull himself back. These guys are already freaks of nature. They have 300-pound guys that can run 5.55s and 5.6s and stuff like that. That ain't natural. So to have all that power coming and then try to make it come to a complete halt, stop. That just just ain't realistic. I don't know what at the end of the day, Rand, this is football. Yeah. Lord, don't have me go into the pussification of football. But anyway, any other games that were played? I know the Giants-Titans game was a surprise. The Giants won that game. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the Giants did just enough to win that game. Daniel Jones did just enough. Saquon Barkley was amazing. 160 something yards rushing and then some other receptions. So he had like 190 all-purpose yards. So he was back doing his thing. I really was interested to see how Saquon would bounce back year 2 after the ankle. I kind of knew last year was going to be rough because he was still trying to come back from that, trust his legs and everything else. But it really seems like he's past that now.
Yeah, at least game 1. We'll see what he does with Carolina. As far as the other games, how about Denver and Seattle, man? That was
let's get into that because that game was ridiculous when
Nathaniel Hackett.
Geno Smith throwing darts. Because my whole thing was I kept saying, okay, they got Metcalf, they got Lockett and all of that and everything, but you ain't got no quarterback that can get them the ball. Okay, I was wrong. Nathaniel Hackett.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I mean, you come down to the end of the game. Listen, I get it. Russ didn't look good all game. He kept checking down to Javonte Williams over and over and over. Wasn't pushing the I don't know how many passes. Was it 12 straight passes where he didn't even throw to a wide receiver? I get it. He just was not on the same page with his receivers. But and I agree with my man Shannon Sharp. When you bet the franchise on a guy, you're paying him $260 million.
That's right.
You did not pay him all that money that when you need a 4th and 5, you go to your kicker
for a 64-yard attempt.
And your kicker is not named Justin Tucker.
Right. And the thing about that makes it so dumb is they had all 3 timeouts left with under.
And then you let the clock run down.
The clock run down to 20-some seconds left. And then
you call timeout.
Then you call timeouts when the other team has the ball and they're kneeling. Then you start calling your timeouts. It's like, what are you doing, man?
I'm thinking I said, damn, if Mike McCarthy and Matt Rule had a baby, it would have been Nathaniel Hackett. Jesus Christ.
Poor Hackett, man. He's hearing it. He is hearing it. Nationally, he's hearing it.
I mean, look, bro. Everybody would, if 4th and 5 happened and Russell didn't get it done, he just didn't get it done. The better team won that day.
Yes, that's what you're paying that man for. That's what you wouldn't go and
after Matt LaFleur did that to Aaron effing Rodgers. I thought most coaches would have kind of figured out, hey, maybe my franchise quarterback needs to be the one to make that decision. I don't need to take the ball out of his hands.
Yeah.
Isn't that why Russ ended up leaving Pete Carroll? Because Pete Carroll wanted to start running the ball. Because in that, Russ wanted to be more involved in the offense. And during major times of a game, a lot of times Pete Carroll say, no, we're going to pound the ball. And Russ is like, no, I can make that throw. And he's like, no, we're going to run that ball. Give it to Penny. We're going to run this ball. And that ended up having Russ leave. Now, Russ said all the right things at the end of the game. I agreed with the decision. Of course you did, but you really didn't. That's why you're in Denver and not Seattle. That's why he has an office at the stadium. They gave him an office. Part of the deal. The quarterback has his own office. That's pretty funny. So I don't know what the heading on the door says, like de facto head coach or what, but whatever. But yeah, they took the ball out of Russ's hands, which basically said to me as a coach, you don't believe in your franchise quarterback. And there's a lot of times where franchise quarterbacks will stink it up all game long. And what makes them great is that one play at the end of a game that goes into lore forever and ever, and everybody tells a story. Immaculate receptions, all kinds of things like that, where it didn't look like they had a chance in hell. And then just that one play will define that character and all the talks of life and everything else.
And I tell you what, Russell Wilson has more of those plays within him than that kicker has within him.
Thank you. All day. Anthony says Monday night game was funny. Yeah, it was funny because everybody in the water cooler, I kept reading it too. And I was thinking the same thing, Rand. I saw somebody post, man, everybody picking Seattle. Y'all must just be trolling us. And it was funny because I was kind of thinking that too. I ain't gonna lie. I read that. I was like, Yeah, I kind of feel that way too, because unless you know something that I don't, there ain't no chance in hell this game should be close on paper. But like you said, that's why you play the game. Because on paper, you could have basically slept through the first 3 quarters, turned the TV on, and said, okay, predictable. They up by 17 points, and it was a dogfight. And Seattle, to their credit, they made it noisy. They didn't make it easy. How many false starts did you see from Denver?
Ooh, what about those boos for Russell Wilson? Wow, I haven't heard somebody
Mhm.
that angry since LeBron James came back from Miami.
Yeah, see, it's different when Sierra ain't wearing them Hawks jerseys.
Wow, I thought
Mhm.
he would get a classy introduction, kind of like Brady got when he went back to New England. No,
Ooh.
no.
Now, and I heard somebody on one of the NFL network shows after the game talk about, well, he lied to us. He said he was going to be a Hawk for life, and this and that and the other. And the guy was like, whoa, 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 whoa. What else is he supposed to say? They
Right.
always say that. That's just coach speaking, player speak. You ain't supposed to sit there and hitch everything to that. Or maybe he felt like that, and then the money just didn't work out. He
Yeah,
said, people can change their minds. Maybe in his
exactly.
heart, he did want to be a Hawk for life. He always said, "Go Hawks, go Hawks." You know Russell's cornball anyway. But he would say stuff like that, and I believe he meant it until he didn't. But they were like, "Yeah, I wanted him to fail because he said he would never leave us," and da da da. I said, "Damn, you sound like somebody in a bad relationship. Like, you said you never leave me, and you did, so you're dead to me." Like,
Those
y'all,
fans were
and
angry.
even the guy said, "Well, wait a minute. You're going to hold that one statement against him after the 10 good years that he gave your franchise?" And
Gave you
I'm
a
like,
Super Bowl.
that's the truth.
Gave you a Super Bowl. You did not have
Damn.
one before he got there.
Yeah, Seattle fans. I hope most of y'all don't think like that caller did, because that was just petty. That was petty. All right, Ray.
Hey,
So what games this week coming up do you think we need to look out for?
you know what? I am besides of course my Steelers game that I'm gonna be paying attention to. That'll be the one that I watch. Of course, I'm gonna be taping the Panthers game so I could go back and critique that one as well. But the
Definitely.
game that I want to kind of put highlighted, and it's gonna sound a little crazy, but I want to check out what Detroit does with Washington this week, man.
I was looking at that.
I think they can upset them. I think they could get them. I really think they could get them.
Yeah, I Carson did look pretty decent. I'm gonna give him that. Um, but yeah, I think the Lions got enough to win that game. I
Yeah,
think the Lions could win that game. The Ravens have to play the Dolphins. Um, I think the Ravens could win that game, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm thinking the Dolphins are gonna win that game.
I hope you're right on that one too.
I think, I know that'll help you in the division, but I think the Ravens can be exposed. Now, that's not to say that Lamar didn't play out of his mind. Devin Duvernay popped up and just had a hell of a game receiving the ball. Lamar still throws that ball out so funny, but it sails so far down the field. I mean, he airs that ball out.
Yeah,
Anthony said Vikings versus Eagles. Anthony, you are absolutely right. If the Vikings are who we think they are, can they stop the run of Jalen Hurts, Boston Scott, Miles Sanders, and Gainsworth? Not Gainsworth, Gain something.
games.
Gainwell. Gainwell, not Gainsworth. Gainwell. If he can, if they can slow down that running game, if they can utilize Thielen and but on the opposite side, will Philly be able to stop Dalvin Cook? Will Kirk Cousins be able to use that play action to keep them at bay long enough to get the ball down the field to Jefferson? Man, that's going to be a very intriguing game. You're absolutely right, Anthony. I am all over it with you on that.
Is that a primetime game?
The Vikings and the Eagles is a doubleheader Monday night game next week. So
Ooh,
the first game is the 7:15 game, which is going to be the Titans versus the Bills, which that could get ugly early. So an hour and 15 minutes later, if it's really ugly, you can switch over and watch the Vikings versus the Eagles.
That's what's up, man.
That's going to be a hell of a Monday, a doubleheader. Don't laugh. Brown's going to beat the Panthers. He meant Giants.
I won't laugh if that happens.
Yeah, you trust me. Neither one of us will laugh.
No.
But neither one of us will be totally surprised either.
No, we will not.
The Panthers should beat them, but I would have said that about Cleveland too. So should don't win games. Coaching wins games. Players win games. But unless it was the last game that the Panthers played, unfortunately, sometimes the refs win the games too.
Hey, Anthony, I don't know if you're on Facebook or not, but I'm going to, I see you post a lot of stuff in here. I'm going to give you an invite to the water cooler. We have a lot of fun in there. We play this game called Prime Time in there. You should be a part of it.
Absolutely. Check out Rand's group page. It's the water cooler. It's a group where we kind of air out our displeasures and things like that and troll some of the Cowboy fans. It's really fun. But yeah, Rand will pick the primetime games and we will pick the winners. No spreads or anything like that, just straight up and down. He just put down Tampa versus the Saints. The Saints were not as sharp as I thought they would be. I thought with Jameis Winston having Jarvis Landry, Olave, and Michael Thomas, they would be almost unstoppable, but they just could not get on the same page. He did start warming up and finding Jarvis Landry at the end and Michael Thomas. Olave definitely is going to be the third receiver for right now, but that dude got a lot of burst and stuff. So I think there are going to be some games where Olave is going to really, really take over. But that should be a good game as well. We'll see. Godwin went down with a hamstring injury. Again, I think sometimes trying to get these players to come back too fast means that they have to try to compensate and then something else gets hurt. Julio Jones had a couple of good catches in that game. Looked like the Julio old a little bit, but they were only wanting Julio to be able to do that in spurts, not be a number 2 or number 3, but just kind of be that guy that comes in a rotation every now and then to give you stretch plays like that. They're going to have to lean more on Julio if Godwin is going to miss any significant time. So we'll see how that goes. Lastly, before we go, Rand, this Cowboys game.
Ooh.
In the words of the late Denny Green, they were who we thought they were. Who we thought they were. If you want to crown them, crown their asses. But we took the damn field. Oh, sorry. I love that speech. That's forever one of my favorites. I should have played it. But no, the Cowboys are who we thought they were. They didn't make a lot of offseason changes and everything. They were relying on CeeDee Lamb to be a number 1 receiver, and it wasn't CeeDee Lamb. It was CeeDee who? CeeDee where's CeeDee? That was trending more than anything. That couldn't get him the ball. That couldn't get anybody the ball before he got hurt. Here's the funny part of this, Rand. 2 things. I think Dak's injury could potentially be a blessing to Mike McCarthy, because these fans had it in their mind that the Cowboys was ready to go. We Super Bowl bound as long as our coach don't get in the way. Well, now with your quarterback out, does that kind of give your coach like a pass?
Hell yeah. I mean,
because Cooper Rush is your quarterback now.
That's the ultimate crutch. Literally.
All in Texas know they suck for my man Scott. Yeah, so did Mike McCarthy probably go, oh, thank God.
The pressure's off. Yeah, pressure's off. I have an excuse.
I got an excuse now, because if Dak was healthy and we would have lost this game and then the next couple of games, it ended up being like 2-4, which I have them for their first 6 games. But now they might be 1-5. Because I don't know how that Commanders game was going to go now. I had them beating the Commanders and the Giants as the 2 games out of the 6, and basically losing to Cincinnati, Philadelphia, the Rams, and Cincinnati, I think it was, their 4 losses, which would be legitimate and understandable to everybody outside of the state of Texas. Everybody in the state of Texas thinks the Cowboys are going to go 17-0.
Speaking of the state of Texas, it is a wonderful feeling to open up my laptop, look around Facebook land, and I
Bruh,
can't find a single
bruh.
Dallas
Don't you
Cowboys
look, 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 look. If I ever don't want my wife to know where I am, I'm gonna ask a Cowboy fans how the best way to hide.
fan.
Because, bruh, don't nobody hide like a Cowboys fan. When they lose, man, you would think that there was 31 teams in the NFL. Can't find them. Can't
week
find them.
week 1 shut down.
I
I
got
love
some of
it.
I got someone talking about the season's already over. Marcus Spears talking about it's a wrap. It's just funny. Michael Irvin now, he's still on the well, they got it. They still got it. All they got to do is just work the plan with Cooper Rush, and them Cowboys are going to be in it. And I'm be like, Irv, it ain't going to be like that. But
It's beautiful. We usually have to wait till December for
it's
this.
so beautiful. But now here's the thing. So I think Jerry Jones heard all of that and was like, man, I don't want these people to start jumping ship. So I'm going to give them a little hope and let them know that Dak is going to be back a lot sooner than later. And I think that's why he had them make that announcement that Dak, they're not going to put him on the IR, because if they put him on the IR, he would have to be out a minimum 4 weeks. Well, I don't know what you fracture where they put screws and plates in that would get you back before 4 weeks. And once you're clear medically, you still got to work out. That's your throwing hand. You got to see how the grip is with that screw. You're probably going to have something protecting that thumb when you throw. And how do you throw with something on your thumb when your thumb is part of your throwing action?
Yep.
That's the last thing that touches the ball when it leaves your hand.
Jerry Jones is a very successful man, but last time I checked, I did not see doctor in front of his daggone name.
Jerry is the owner, general manager, president, physician, team doctor, sports medicine expert. I mean, he was saying when Dak got hurt right out the game, oh yeah, he's gonna need surgery. He's gonna be out a couple of weeks, and they hadn't even X-rayed him yet.
Yeah.
And he was in front of the media because he's a media whore. And he just likes to get in front of it, just start talking. And he had no idea what he was talking about. Now he saw that was really making Cowboy fans feel a little funny, some kind of way about having Cooper Rush. So he said, oh no, Dak will be back by game 5.
Another mistake.
Listen, if Dak is back by game 5, you saw what happened when Russell Wilson rushed to come back last year for Seattle. It was a disaster. He had no torque. He could not guide the ball. When it's your throwing hand, you saw what happened with Baker Mayfield when he tore the labrum in his non-throwing shoulder. He could barely get a lot under that ball. You want Dak to pass the CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Dalton Schultz, and his thumb isn't fully healed?
Not gonna happen, man.
Cooper Rush, whether you want to believe it or not, Cowboy fans, and I hope you don't believe it, is your best option right now. Now, the sad part is that if Cooper Rush goes down, your backup is Will Grier. That's what you scare the hell out of you. Woo! Will Grier is your backup. So, listen, I love it. I do. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love it, every bit of it. I'm here for it. Rand, so that's what I got on that. I think that they're just trying to be way too optimistic, and I think it's gonna bite them in the butt if they bring him back. Any final thoughts on that?
What's that again? I'm sorry.
With Dak, I think bringing him back would just be a simple mistake. If you putting him on the IR meant that you would have been able to put him on the IR, get a roster spot, go get you a temporary quarterback, and then on week 5 or week 6, he would be eligible to play and start practicing again.
Yeah, I don't care what Dr. Jones says. We're talking about a sensitive area, a prominent area when it comes to NFL quarterbacks. You will not be seeing Dak back in 4 weeks. And if you do get him back in 4 weeks, it's not going to be the Dak that you saw throwing 37.
I don't think Mike McCarthy wants that, because having a bad Dak back will only make him look worse.
Yeah.
Anthony says Cowboys have no quarterback, no O-line, no receivers. It's crazy. And Zeke is the same Zeke. It's hard to catch a ball in shotgun formation. So all of that is true, Anthony. Thanks for chipping in. Paul Copeland, thanks for chipping in. Scott Wilson, thanks for chipping in as well. We appreciate you guys. Always like, share, subscribe the show so others can see it and watch it. Give us their input on what they think is going on with their favorite team, and we will chop it up. But we will get ready for our Thursday night football game, which is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers against the Kansas City Chiefs. I forgot to mention that Patrick Mahomes played out of his damn mind this past week. But let's just see if he can keep it up. He was by far the most dominant quarterback in the league week 1, by far. Well, now I won't say by far because Josh Allen was right there behind him. But what Mahomes was doing, manipulating them defenses and just throwing touchdown after touchdown after touchdown against Kyler. Why did we pay this man Murray? I hate to root for anybody to get hurt or get the hell knocked out of, but every time Kyler started running, I wanted them to just beat his ass. I did. I ain't gonna lie to you. I wanted them to hit him hard. And then maybe instead of 4 hours of study, he'll go do 8 to 10 hours of study. I'm just saying.
Yep. Anyway. Those Amazon Prime memberships if you want to see this Thursday night football game, y'all.
You got to do it, y'all. That's just how things are. Everything's streaming now, so let's get to it. We'll see it how it pans out this upcoming week, but we will be back on next Wednesday to talk about it. Thanks for joining. We'll see y'all next week.